Sometimes I wish I was an octopus, and then I could slap 8 people at once. So, this is Tiny Tina's Wonderland, and if you heard anything about Borderlands, then you might know that this is a spin-off of the Borderlands series and games, and it's a little bit different, but still somewhat the same. That seems to be the theme of this week. It's kind of like something we played, but it's slightly different. It's kind of refreshing, but something you've played like, 2 to 5 to 10 years ago. It was in a Mario game. But anyways, and that really is the wonderful and whimsy vibe that Tiny Tina's Wonderland gives you while playing the game. It's sort of like a guns meet magic and fantasy genre intersecting with the Borderlands series. So it's kind of similar to Borderlands with the humor, but the writing, I feel like the writing is not as good as the main Borderlands series, but still got like that silly, sort of childish, juvenile humor that you come to expect from the series. So there's heavy customization of your ideal character right at the very beginning, and like I'm not a big customization guy, so this kind of like really slowed me down and really stopped me from getting into the game. Actually stopped me from playing the game because I don't like to be front loaded usually. I know some people love that, but I don't like being front loaded with like, okay, you got to do all these changes and stuff. So you can like change their hair, the voice, their eye color, clothes. It's just hard to get out of the menus, and that's why I'm generally, as a gamer, like grew up I guess with like you just jump in the game, you figure out the game, don't worry about it, like all these options at the start of the game, right? So the game is bright and colorful and feels mostly organic. It's got a cool little mini universe, and the cutscenes really get you into the game, and the humor gets you into the game, and it's an interesting setup. So even though the graphics are bright and colorful, just like Borderlands, I feel like they look best in the darker areas rather than the first world where you just see like bright greens and everything, and the bright sunlight. And Tina and Valentine, they're wonderfully written. The other guys, I don't know if they're supposed to be like less funny, but I feel like they get the best lines. So, and they're sometimes funny in game, but I feel like the writing's like, it's kind of hit and miss, which leads to like the biggest attraction, which is really like the humor is what makes this game. I feel like the graphics, they're not bad. I mean, it's sort of what you've seen from Borderlands before, and just the writing is either wonderfully wacky and whimsical, or it feels cringy and annoying. It kills the excitement that it just generated like seconds or a minute ago. It's a solid shooter that follows like the Borderlands gameplay formula, but that formula is starting to lose its shine, I feel. Different writers on this project than the original Borderlands games. There's a huge variety of like larger than life guns that wouldn't be possible in like a straight ahead Dungeons and Dragons sort of video game, which is more traditional. And it really replaces like the generic fantasy weapons with the over the top nonsensical weapons that are pretty cool. Now, on that topic, like a lot of the weapons are sort of like similar to weapons that were in Borderlands, but like they just tweak them a little bit. So with that said, like yeah, it's cool that there's over-the-top weapons, but it sort of feels like, hey, I used this weapon before, but looks different, but it plays the same. So the game really guides you on where to go and what you need to do. It feels like you're kind of on an enclosed area, like an enclosed path, and less an adventure than a linear path, unfortunately. Lots is usually go on with the combat, so you don't really have time to sort of like reminisce, I guess, or like consider like what you're doing. So, and don't realize like how lightweight the game really is. So as appealing as Tina and some of the humor is, she does act like a child and irritating at times. Maybe that's what you want, but I just feel like sometimes it's like, like maybe you feel like your baby is sitting. I don't know, I'm just throwing that out there. So instead of a quest with meaning and real consequences, your Borderlands characters, popular characters, they're playing a simulated tabletop role-playing campaign called Bunkers and Badasses, and it's a very tabletop role-playing campaign with outrageous absurdities and violence and with guns. And the story is ultimately very forward. The characters are good and you need to fight the bad guy, and they are bad and they must be defeated. So it's like very forward in that sense. The main game is shorter than other titles as a spin-off. I didn't finish it all. I just found, I kind of have to be honest, I found Borderlands and also this game, I thought this game would be different, but it really does play and look a lot like Borderlands, so I found it was hard to get into it. But still, it's entertaining. It's a solid 10 to 18 hours of gameplay, which is decent over time, without any side quests. Otherwise I'll add 30 hours or whatever I heard. Just, there's very little replayability, unfortunately, outside of like, there's no new game plus, outside the side quests. And then the game offers the Chaos Chamber, which is pretty much just combat encounters with a few changes, unfortunately. So with that said, some people have apparently invested dozens, if not hundreds of hours, I don't know how, I mean, this is clearly their game, into this game in the series. So if you're expecting a life-changing story or a game with major replayability beyond like looting and shooting, move on. It's a loot and shooter. So upgrading your character apparently is a major grind fest, and I don't have the patience personally for that. Once I play for the story, then I'm done. I just don't see the appeal in having like a major pumped up character when I can play something else personally. So maybe, you know, just come for the main story, maybe leave. You can get it for cheap. It's entertaining until it's not. I feel like this game is sort of stop start, entertaining until it's not. And I feel like this whole week is sort of like games that are entertaining and then they're not right away, like very quickly. And then it's suddenly not entertaining, it's not funny, it feels like a generic quest to fight the bad guy, and that's not a good thing really. But if you wanted more Borderlands with like hit and miss humor, with a few of those games but looks slightly different, Tiny Tina's Wonderland is a fun diversion with less fun entertainment value, but with little meaning substance once you've beaten the main storyline, which is like 10 to 18 whatever hours. So I would say it's a solid 8 out of 10. Like, it's full price, unfortunately, for $80 plus the extra frills bump it up to another 20 or 30 bucks. So yeah, 8 out of 10. The formula's getting old. The writing is not as good as past games. If you can get it for cheap, like 20 bucks, go for it. Just don't expect like a grand adventure. It sort of promises that at the beginning, so I got like hyped up, and then I was like, you know what, like it sort of feels like I'm in arenas rather than like I'm on a big adventure, full of exploration, and then the game leads you where it wants you to go, and I feel like, well, that's not adventure if I'm like told where I should go. And looks different, yet feels like something you've already experienced a few games ago and a few times ago. So keep that in mind, maybe look at it a bit, see if it's something new enough that you may enjoy it. But if you find the writing's like too childish, characters too childish, then maybe this is not the game for you. And stay wonderful, keep on gaming, ciao.